What do you get when you cross Outrun, Lotus Turbo Challenge and Top Gear? You get Horizon Chase Turbo, the retro-style game released for the modern platforms PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch and PC. Horizon Chase was originally released as a mobile game on iOS and Android in 2015 as Horizon Chase World Tour, before making its way to the consoles as Horizon Chase Turbo and featuring enhanced graphics plus more cars, tracks and game modes. It was developed and published by Brazilian team Aquarius Games, and it's heavily influenced by 16-bit racing games, particularly Top Gear, a 1992 SNES game. In fact, the game's soundtrack was composed by Barry Leach, the very same guy who composed the Top Gear soundtrack. So, what of the game? Does it live up to the original game which influences it? Does it recapture the old 16-bit magic? Thankfully, the answer is yes, 100% yes. This game is absolutely brilliant. Yes, the graphics are old school, but the developers have shown that you don't need fancy graphics as long as you have great gameplay. I've always been of the opinion that gameplay comes before graphics, and this game definitely backs up my opinion. Don't get me wrong though, the graphics are still pretty good. They're meant to take you back to the 16-bit era, but they still manage to do this while looking clear and colourful. The cars look great and the scenery is varied. The soundtrack is great too. As mentioned, it was composed by original Top Gear composer Barry Leach, so there's plenty of catchy 16-bit sounding tunes. Graphics and soundtrack aside, one of the game's biggest plus points is the sheer amount of content. There's tons and tons of races in this, and all in a variety of locations. There's also 4 great game modes to keep it interesting, so there's definitely plenty of replay value in the game. The 4 game modes are World Tour, Tournaments, Playground and Endurance. Only World Tour is unlocked at the start of the game, but as you progress through the game you unlock the other modes. World Tour is the main career mode in the game. In it you take part in races to unlock other countries and upgrade races. You can also unlock more cars and other game modes here. There are 12 countries to get through in the game. Each country has 3 different locations, all of which have 2 or 3 different races in them. So you're looking at approximately 8 races per country, and each country has 1 upgrade race. So in the World Tour alone, you're looking at least 108 races, and then you've got all the other modes. As you progress through the races, you earn points which will eventually build up to unlock more cars, the upgrade race and other countries. You start off in California, USA, before moving on to Chile, Brazil, South Africa, Greece, Iceland, United Arab Emirates, India, Australia, China, Japan and Hawaii. There's so much variation here. Each race can have 2 to 3 different settings, and you have various conditions such as nighttime, rain, fog, snow, etc. You can start races in daylight and end them at night time and vice versa. What I love about this game as well is the sense of speed it gives you. It feels very very fast, especially when you activate your nitro. Use it sparingly though, as you only get 3 per race, although you can sometimes pick up extra ones during the race as well. There is other items to pick up as well, such as fuel and tokens. Make sure to pick up plenty of fuel, because if you don't, you could run out of fuel and you won't finish the race. You can collect gold, silver or bronze trophies for finishing in the podium position. However, you can also get a super trophy should you finish in first place and collect all the tokens. The higher you finish, the more points you get towards unlocking more content. You may find yourself having to go back to replay races to get the required points to unlock the next country. As mentioned before, there is also upgrade races. If you finish further better in these races, you will be given the opportunity to upgrade all your cars. This is essential to keep you competitive in later races. Each country has a progress page where you can track how many trophies you won and what percentage of it you have completed. Each country also has 1 car that can be unlocked by getting all golds. Cars will also be unlocked at various points when reaching a certain points total. There's 32 cars to collect. Yet another thing I like about the game is the races are short. You can easily go through 1 country in half an hour or less. The races are usually 3 to 4 laps, apart from the upgrade race which are usually longer, and they can range from 1 minute to 2.5 minutes depending on how good you are at the game. The game itself is easy when you compare it to the original retro racing games, which are notoriously hard, but it is still hard in its own right. You will probably finish in a podium position every time, but getting the gold isn't always so easy, and a bit trickier still to get all the super trophies. It can be a bit frustrating sometimes trying to get past the AI cars. If you bump into the back of them, you can easily lose 3 or 4 places in the race. Actually, crashing into the road signs and such does not lose you as much time as bumping into the back of other cars. One nice touch I've noticed though is AI cars can also have crashes with each other and the roadside objects. Many racing games don't feature this, so it's nice to see a developer actually making the AI cars prone to accidents as well. Out with the World Tour, you also have Tournament Mode, where you have 3 levels, Amateur, Medium and Professional. Each of us have a tournament for each country, so that's another load of content to get through if you finish with the World Tour. And then you have Playground, which has various different modes such as time trials and much more. Endurance is assumed to be longer races, although to be honest, at the time of recording I've not yet unlocked this mode. The Tournament mode and Playground mode are unlocked fairly early on, but you have to beat the World Tour mode with all golds to unlock Endurance. You can also play local co-op in 2 to 4 player split screen, which is pretty cool, although something I've not tried yet as I have no friends to play with. That is, I do have friends, just not friends that come around my flat and play games. The only thing that it lacks is an online mode, although for me that is not a bad thing because I suck at online. You can race against ghost cars though, which is pretty cool. Overall, it's a fantastic game, especially as it's a budget title. You can get it for around £16 here in the UK. It's a solid 9 out of 10 from me. If you want to see more of the game, then check out my Let's Play, which is available now.